Pursuant to Article 4, Section 19 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, Listlegard moves that the rule therein be suspended and an urgency be declared, and that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that Senate File number 3881 be given its second and third readings and be placed upon its final passage.
The member from St. Louis, Representative Listlegard, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion.
Representative Listlegard moves to declare an urgency. All those in favor of the Listlegard motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its second reading.
Second reading, Senate File number 3881.
Second reading. I recognize the member from St. Louis, Representative Listlegard, to address the bill.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker and members. And yes, it is an emergency for our dear friend David. I'm here today to present House File 4237, naming a portion of Highway 169 from Marble to Mountain Iron in honor of him. Most of you know David was a dear friend of mine. He was a mentor, and he was a proud Iron Ranger. He was born and raised there, and he always said Chisholm was the center of the universe. And we have a page right down front, and he's from Chisholm. So David would be honored that you're here today. David was going back into history, David was a very talented individual. He played hockey, go figure, from the state of Minnesota of hockey. He played D1 at the University of Minnesota, excuse me, he'd be mad at me right there, University of Denver. And then he played in 1984, he played for Italy in the Olympics. He had a long professional career in hockey in Italy, spanning from 1975 to 1991. A little side note, having a conversation with our very own Pat Murphy. Pat played hockey with him, and he said that I can't tell all the stories in the locker room, but he said they would be entertaining. But after that, David came home, and he got into politics, and I'm happy that he got into politics because he taught me so much. During his time as a legislator, he chaired several committees, and he started in the House. And then in 2001, he came over to the Senate. And so we always joked that David was House trained before going over to the Senate. And he was one of them guys that didn't look down on no one. He didn't care if it was the Senate or the House, or you were rich or you were poor. David was David, and David loved people. He was a defender of the Iron Range. He knew what it meant to be a ranger. He did put people before politics. He worked across the aisle. David didn't rule by an iron fist. David ruled with finesse, but he was tough. He was tough with love. He really, truly cared. And if you knew him, you would know that he is one of the most sincere, kind people. And all you got to do is look at his children. His children are very much the same, and they are very, very proud of their father. But in 2000, let's see here, in the mid-2021, our dear friend was diagnosed with ALS. And I remember when I got the phone call, we were COVID, and I was pacing in my backyard, go figure. And he told me, and I didn't know what to say. What do you say when your dear friend tells you about a disease that is incurable? And then being David, who David was, he took on that fight, knowing full well that there was no cure for ALS. It was David who did push that legislation, the largest legislation ever for ALS, $20 million, $5 million for caregiving for ALS people, knowing full well that he would not benefit from what we accomplished. I know I probably would have been afraid. I probably would have went into a shell, but not David. not David. I want to acknowledge Representative New Brindley, who was there, and she understands that disease. But it was a very, very difficult time to watch that. But that's who he was, and he fought all the way to the end. There's going to be some other people to talk, but, you know, I just got to say that I wouldn't be who I am without him today. I really wouldn't be. And so this is an honor of him. I'm going to tell you one story because David would not want all sad. So he taught me a lot. I was down here. I used to drive him, right? And when we first got here, we passed that no texting legislation. And I voted for it, safety. Well, I'm driving him around, and I'm texting, and he looks at me, and he goes, "You shouldn't text and drive." And I went, "Oh, okay." You know, and didn't want to disappoint him. And then about 2 weeks later, we're up on the range on this very highway we're going to name for him. He's driving. And his nickname was Guido. And he's texting, and I'm thinking there, I said, "Hey, Guido, you just told me that I can't text 2 weeks ago, and you're texting." He looks at me and he goes, "I didn't vote for the bill." That's who he was. He was a great man, and I know some other people are going to talk, so that is the bill.
Discussion to the bill. The member from St. Louis, Representative Scraba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Liz Lagarde. I didn't get to serve with Senator Tomassoni. I was the mayor of Ely, and I did little things for our community, and the bonding committee would come through, and David was part of it. And I remember cooking fish one year, and David says, "What are you doing this fall?" He wanted a fundraiser. He's like, "You come cook for me." And he's that kind of guy. He's always looking for an angle. He was always good. He always took care of the range. The least that I can do is to support him, his name on that highway. And the other thing I will promote, there is a ride, a bicycle ride, on September 19th through the 21st at Fortune Bay. It's on the Iron Range. It's on the Mesabi Trail. It's for ALS. And it is an opportunity to meet David's people. Everyone will be there. It's a great ride. It drives, you can ride your bike to Ely, to Chisholm, whichever direction you want to go out of there. It's going to be a great opportunity, and I have to do that shameless plug for David's opportunity. And thank you, and I look forward to signing everything tomorrow. Thank you.
Discussion. The member from Itasca, Representative Igo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to both my colleagues for the words on behalf of Senator Tomassoni. I just want to leave, I think one of the greatest things that David did in his time down here, but also being a member of the range, was he set the example of what it is to be a true statesman. Work with both sides of the aisle, but make every single person who ever talked to him and interacted with him, they felt like the most important person in the room. So this legislation today that we're going to put in place to commemorate this highway for him isn't just for the people of the range to remember him, because we're going to remember him for a long time. It's for the people of Minnesota, but it's also for the people of both chambers in this legislature to remember what it was like to have a man who really was larger than life, that could work with everybody, made everyone laugh, made everyone smile, but delivered things that lifted up every single Minnesotan, regardless of party. A close story that I have with the senator was when I first started getting involved in politics and I was working on the range. I was very new on the job. And I was going into rooms that made me very uncomfortable. I was a new kid on the block in a sense and didn't really know who to talk to or how to make myself heard and represent the folks I had to represent when I was there. But David always made sure to grab me from the back of the room and sit me up front next to him and said, "You're here for a reason, Spencer." And I remember that every day because I look back at a moment like that, and that's what inspired me to kind of lead me to where I'm at today, because he pushed people to do that. Everybody who comes from the range in some sense, whether you work in politics, whether you're a community advocate, whether you just go out into the world and say your home's the range, has a story like that with David. And I'm just really glad that we had this urgency today to move this forward and to do this for the region, for his family, and for our state. So let's remember David's legacy as we go through these days of session and the years ahead what it's like to be a true statesman. And let's put this highway in his name. Thank you.
The member from Chisago, Representative New Brindley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Liz Lagarde. I had the opportunity over the past few years to spend some time with Senator Tomassoni, and I love the comments about him being a statesman, but I would also add that he was a baller. Like, he knew how to get stuff done. And it was fun to watch him work. It was really fun to watch him work. And shortly before his diagnosis was announced publicly, we were having dinner with some friends. And he was very quiet, which was a little unusual. And so when that diagnosis came and was announced, it all sort of came together for me. But I am so grateful for who he was. I am so grateful that in his final months, he didn't lose that fighting spirit and he got stuff done, because that's who he was. I was sitting in his office. There was always a ton of food in his office at the end of session when we're in and out all day long and hurrying up and waiting. And there was several of us in his office, and he started pulling out the swag. And I have my David Tomassoni mug sitting on my windowsill in my kitchen, so I see it almost every day. The days I choose to do the dishes. I see that David Tomassoni mug sitting there, and that is something that I will cherish forever. Knowing how he chose to spend his life serving the people of his community, that he chose in his final months to fight for a community that he became a part of, that I too am a part of. I'm so grateful for who he was, for who he is, and I am grateful for this opportunity that we have to honor him in this way. Senator Tomassoni deserves this.
Further discussion. Representative Lislagard. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senator Tomassoni certainly had an impact on my life as well. The youngest years of my political involvement as well. A member of the other side of the aisle, a member of the middle, a member supporting his community. And one thing that I especially became fond of was his ability in any room, but especially back in his own community, to reference things like the Bible. And he would stand before a political convention, or he would stand before his entire community and recite a verse. And I think I've got it right here. I tried to pull it up just as quickly as I could here. And this is, I believe it's Deuteronomy 8. For the Lord, Deuteronomy 8:7. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with brooks, streams, and deep springs gushing out into the valleys and hills, a land with wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey, a land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing, and a land where the rocks are iron and you can dig copper out of the hills. And that speaks well to Senator Tomassoni, a great friend of the state of Minnesota.
Further discussion. The member from Meeker, Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Had many occasions when I was with Senator Tomassoni, and being with my connection with bonding, the senator was very interested in me. And I asked him once, I need to know what your priorities are, Senator Tomassoni. Would you please tell me? And so he took out a sheet of paper and he wrote down his priorities, handed them to me. And I said, could you prioritize them for me? Handed it back, gives it back to me. And it's 10 items. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And I said, they're all number 1. He says, everything is number 1 on the range. And in my last memory of seeing him, it was early in the session, and he was around the rotunda railing over here behind us. And I walked by him. He couldn't talk at that time, but I just said hello to him, and he just looked at me and went, "We'll miss him."
Discussion. Representative Listgard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just in closing, one thing that David was a man of few words. He didn't need to be the big show on the floor or in life. He just brought people together and got stuff done, and I would ask you to vote green. Thank you.
The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3881.
Third reading. The clerk will take the roll on the bill. Will the clerk please call the names of the members who are voting remotely?
Carroll.
Carroll, yes.
Carroll, aye. Howard.
Howard votes yes.
Howard, aye. Cagle.
Cagle, aye.
Cagle, aye. Tabke.
Dabke, aye.
Tabke, aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 129 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to.